Hi everyone, welcome to Just Homesteading. My name is Melanisha and this is my channel. I am currently in my basement in my seed starting area. I need to up pot some of my seedlings, so I thought this would be a great time to show you where I start my seeds. So give me 1 minute and I will turn the camera around. So this is my main shelf. It's just an old metal shelf similar to the ones that I have in my root cellar. Nothing special. So you can see every shelf has a light. The bottom light is not on. These are pepper plants that I started yesterday. They're on a heat mat. If you watched my onion starting video, I have never had onion plants look this good. So these are the Tokyo Long onion plants. Look how great they look. And from the videos that I've watched, I do think it's time for me to trim these up a bit. And when I say that this shelf is nothing special, I mean, look at the rust. These are the leeks. As you see, not as many germinated. We have the fennel and the Utah yellow Spanish onions. So as you can see, the Tokyo Long did the best, and the Tokyo Long seeds are from 2022. All of the other seeds are older. So if you have onion seeds, it seems like it's best to use them as soon as you can because your germination rate will be a lot better. And I don't have grow lights. These are shop lights that I bought secondhand off of Facebook Market. I've been using these for years and they do great. I have another shelf over here with another big shop light. One more shelf and some of my seed starting supplies. And then one shelf over here where I do most of my up potting. So I usually plant my seeds in my kitchen. I do most of my up potting in the basement. It's colder today, so I have a hoodie on. But yeah, this is my space. It's not big. In this small space, I can start hundreds of seedlings. And with this shelf right here, if I need to put seedlings on this shelf, we have hooks in the ceiling. And let me see if I can show them to you. There's one. Where's the other one? There's two. So with those, I'm able to hang another shop light to make sure that all of my seedlings are getting enough light. And then down here, I can also put another light. So again, I want to encourage everyone to just use what you have. I'm going to give you an up close look at what I'm going to be up potting. So we have purple opal basil, sage, Genovese basil, fenugreek, lettuce leaf basil. I mean, look how beautiful these plants look. This one I put it a little bit too close to my lights, so it's a little burnt, but it'll be fine. We have, what's this one? I believe this might be a fennel. We have lime basil, sweet savory, cilantro, fennel, cumin, and parsley. And the fennel looks like it was a little bit too close to the lights too, but once I up pot them, they'll snap back. But look how healthy these plants look. And they smell amazing. And then I have these are my little cups. These are from the Dollar Tree. These are from last year. I didn't use all of the ones that I bought. I like to reuse these. I think it was $1.25 for a pack of 12. I put these on these little trays. These are also from last year and from Dollar Tree, $1.25 for a pack of 3, which allows me to water from the bottom. So essentially I put these on here, I fill them with soil, and then I put the plants in. Okay, so this is actually an old water bath canner that was starting to get a hole in it. So I use it for soil now. I have some soil in here that I pre-moistened. And then what I do is I just take my little pots and I just fill them with soil. I'm going to fill them all with soil first and then start pulling out the plants that I want to up pot. And I've found that this is the easiest way for me to do this. It's the quickest way. And like I said, I do this in my basement. I don't have to worry about my children getting into the soil. Sometimes they help me. Today, it's Saturday. They want to play, so they're not down here right now. And like I said, it's also a little chilly down here today. I don't usually need a hoodie when I'm down here. And I would have to look, I didn't think to look in my planner before I came down here to see the date of when I started all of these herbs. But it's definitely been a few weeks. And they germinated. Some of them germinated way faster than I expected and got a little leggy, but that's okay. I use popsicle sticks to label plants that need to be labeled. My purple basil, I won't need to label that. The Genovese basil, I won't need to label that. Sage, the lettuce leaf basil, just because I know what they look like and I won't get them mixed up with anything else. Things like cilantro and parsley, I do need to label. And I'm actually just going to take this stick and make holes in the soil. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to start with the purple basil. So what I do is I use the popsicle stick to help me pop them out. And these are just mildly damp. Look at that. Look at those roots. And then I will gently break them apart. So just make sure you take your time pulling them apart. There's one. And as I take them apart, I lay them on the pot that they're going to go into. And then I go back around to push them into the holes. And as you break them, they all take some of the roots with them. So from that one cell, I got 10 basil plants. Again, we have some nice roots. You see, this one is really tiny. So I'm actually going to plant this one together with one of the larger plants. Okay, so you see how it's just laying on top of the soil. I take my popsicle stick, push it down into the hole, and that's it. So I'm going to do the rest of these, and then I will show you what they look like once I'm all finished. Because I have such a small seed starting area, I do try to start everything in waves, so that way, I will leave these in the seed starting trays as long as I can before I up pot them. And then hopefully by the time that the next tray needs to be up potted and needs more space on the shelves, I will be taking things outside to the garden. I have another tray of pots here ready to go. And if you don't have space to up pot your seedlings, you can always start them later. So then that way you either don't need to up pot them or you don't need to up pot them as much. You can also use red solo cups instead of pots like these. I use both. If you use the red solo cups, just make sure you drill some holes in the bottom for drainage. Most plants don't like to have soggy roots. These plants, once they get a little bigger, I'm hoping to get them out into my greenhouse. It's actually in the garage. I bought it at the end of the season last year. It's bigger than the one that I had. So I'm excited to be able to use that to have more space for my starts. Okay, and anytime that you start seedlings in the house like this, you will need to harden them off before you put them in your garden. I just want to show you these roots again. So essentially what that means, so these plants, since they're growing inside, they are not used to the level of light that they are going to get from the sun. So you have to take them outside for a couple of hours at a time so they can get acclimated to being out in the bright sun. And once you do that, then they can go into your garden. These basil plants smell so good. So basil is one of the plants that my daughter she likes to walk through the garden and touch our herbs. And looking at this, I think I mixed my seeds up a little bit because that doesn't look like purple opal basil. So it might be a Genovese basil because it was right next to it. So we'll see what it grows into. But my daughter also loves the smell of basil. So she will pick some of the leaves and throw them around the garden so that way when she's walking through, she can smell basil. And these basil plants, well, all of these herbs actually will stay in these pots until it's time for them to go outside. If you are low on space, you can put 2 basil plants per pot and they should be fine to stay in there until it's time to put them outside. Oops. See, gotta be careful and take your time. Luckily, I did not hurt the plant, but I do have a mess to clean up now. Some of you might be thinking, you know, that's a lot of herbs, especially for basil because the plants get so large. But once you dehydrate them and blend them into a powder, amount decreases a lot. And I'm wanting to get to the point and that I don't actually have to buy the majority of my herbs from the store. So that's why I have so many plants, giving them away. Okay, and that's another tray finished. I'm just going to take them and put them on the shelf. Besides the root cellar and my seed starting area, I also have a chest freezer and a standing or an upright deep freezer in my basement. This is also where I keep my carboys that are bulk aging my wine. And you will get to see those in my first winemaking video, which is coming soon. I appreciate everyone's comments. You guys have given me suggestions. You guys have given me positive feedback, and I really appreciate it. I'm doing my best to answer everyone's questions. With my schedule, sometimes it might take me a day or two, but my goal is to get back to everyone. So keep those questions coming in. I just ask that you be mindful that I work full time and that I have 4 children, so I may not be able to respond right away. I think I mentioned this earlier, but this is just some potting soil from the store. And I'm actually going to pull out some different plants so you can get an up close look at them. Look at that lettuce leaf basil. And it does look like the germination rate on the lettuce leaf basil was a little lower than the purple opal basil, but there are still plenty of plants here for me. This is a lime basil, and actually only one plant sprouted in this cell. Look how healthy it is. Some nice roots on there. When they're big like this, just put a nice big hole in there. So this is easier to do when your soil is not too dry and not too wet. So be mindful of how much you moisten your soil, because you don't want it to be too wet because it's harder to work with, and then you also end up needing to use more soil in your pots. And my goal is to stretch this soil as much as possible so I don't have to buy a lot of it. This is the Genovese basil. And again, nice roots. So when you water your plants from the bottom, it encourages those roots to grow downward, and it gives you nice, strong root systems. So that way you're able to come in and just break these up and not hurt your plant. I'm just trying to find one. So I have exactly 3 pots left. So I want to pull out a cell that only has 3 plants. So this is sage. Has exactly 3 plants in there, but you can see what happens when you put your plants too close to your lights. So these were under my top shop light, and that light puts off a lot of heat, which my peppers love, brassicas and herbs, not so much. So yeah, just make sure you don't put your plants too close to your lights if they put off a lot of heat. And I don't know if you can hear all of that noise upstairs, but those are my children running around, enjoying their Saturday, having a good time. As I do in every video, I always want to encourage, anyone watching that is new in their homesteading journey like I am, or thinking about living a more self-sufficient lifestyle, to just start where you are. You're not going to have everything that you want when you first start out. You're going to see a lot of people on the internet that have, better seed starting setups than you, larger gardens than you. And I shouldn't say better seed starting setups, but they're just going to be different. They might have different lights, they might have, different pots. They might have a bunch of different things, but that doesn't mean you can't start where you are. When I first started gardening, I was growing in tons of pots on my deck that first year. I had just moved into the house that I owned at that time, and I didn't have time before the gardening season to put any type of raised beds or in-ground garden in place. So I went to Dollar Tree, I bought a bunch of pots, and I grew a bunch of food in those. Then the next year, I started to put raised beds in the yard. And again, our entire lot at that time was about 6,000 square feet. And the backyard, due to the slope, was pretty much unusable space. And then we also needed to leave space for my children to play. So that second year, I put in raised beds. That third year, added more raised beds, used whatever in-ground space that I could. And even in that small space, I was able to grow a decent amount of food and then supplement from the local farmers in my area. Yeah, so even if sometimes you don't even have space for a garden. You might live in an apartment and you don't have any outdoor space. Because a lot of people will grow plants and food on their balconies. They have a small back patio. Some people use aquaponics in their house. You can, if you don't have garden space, you can still, preserve food through canning, dehydrating, freeze drying, freezing. The chest freezer that I have is on the smaller side and could easily fit into, a smaller apartment. You don't have to have a basement. So I don't want anyone watching to get discouraged because they see things that other people have that they don't have, but that doesn't mean that you can't start where you are, because we all started somewhere. I'm not someone that grew up in a family that lived a homesteading lifestyle, that preserved food, that canned. We did always have a lot of meat in the freezer, but as far as, canning and dehydrating, that's not something that my family did growing up. You should be gentle with the plants, but they are in no way fragile once they get to this size. I also had a lower germination rate with my sage. And again, when I have a plant that's a little smaller than the rest, I plant it with a larger one. That way, if this one dies out, I'm not wasting a pot of soil. And I know a lot of people will, put multiple seeds in a cell and then pick out what they believe is the best plant. I have the space, so I up-pot them all. And that way, if something happens later down the line, I still have, multiple plants that I can put in my garden. And then it also allows me to share plants with friends or neighbors. Point, I will turn a fan on down here and face it towards my plants to simulate wind, and it will help your plants build stronger stems. Okay, so I ran out of these silver trays, so I'm going to have to finish up potting another day. But as you can see, I got a good amount of plants up potted today, and I counted the pots. I ended up with 123 pots. And that's not plants because, as you can see, some of them do have 2 plants in their pots. This is a baking pan. I use it for planting now because it is too large to fit in the oven that I have now. So we have mammoth dill, sage, different kinds of basil, fenugreek, parsley, and then I have to finish the lime basil, more dill, cilantro, parsley, and cumin. And I didn't show you this tray when I first turned the camera on, but this is my tray of brassicas that I started maybe a day last week. I went out with some of my friends, and in my excitement, I forgot to turn off my lights. So as you can see, these plants don't look as healthy as my herbs. Most of them will snap back, but I do see some spots that are really sparse. So I will need to come in and put in some additional seeds. The soil is also a little wetter than it should be, so I'm hoping it dries out soon. But this is part of the reason why I put so many seeds in one cell, because you just never know what's going to happen. You know, and if something like this happens to you, don't be discouraged, especially with brassicas. I mean, most seed companies put hundreds of seeds in one packet, so you'll have plenty to start over if you need to. I ended up having to move my peppers over to where I do my up potting to make space for all of my herbs. So these will stay on the shelves for now. Once it gets to be warmer outside, I will hopefully be moving all of these to my greenhouse. There's lots of wires going on down here. I do not leave these lights on when I'm not home. Yeah, so I mean, that's it. Let me know in the comments what you are starting right now. If you're in an area where you are actually planting out in your garden, let me know where you live and what you're planting. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.